You are listening to Society Bites Radio, social interaction for the mind and soul. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Naomi Slater, and you have tuned in to Divine Couples, adding intimacy, passion, and healing to your lives. Liliana JAYLA Coventina is a Marine Corps vet turned Dakini. She has designed and hosted both online and in-person programs, helping over 140 individuals overcome sexual trauma and develop deeper levels of intimacy, both with self and with partners, by embodying the wisdoms of the shadow archetypes. She brings these tools based in her background in behavioral therapy, ABA, somatic experiencing, conscious kink, neotantra, intimacy and relationship coaching, shamanic breathwork, and more to her clients in a holistic approach to integrating interpersonal trauma. Hi, Liliana. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, Naomi. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm so honored to be on here again.
Oh, it's so wonderful to have you again. And so our last interview was really focused on your journey to becoming a feminine embodiment coach. And now I would really love to talk more about where you are today and how you help others integrate sexual trauma.
Awesome. Well, Today, right now, as we speak, I'm eye-gazing with an iguana out of beautiful Costa Rica and getting
Lucky.
all sorts of sun. And so that's where I am physically.
Right.
And emotionally and in my life, I am better than I have ever been. I'm in a space where I never once anticipated that this could possibly be my life, that this could be something that I could choose and afford and be able to really live in my truth. And I'm living that right now and loving it.
That's amazing. What a gift to be able to do that. Yeah. Yeah. So you help others embody their shadow archetypes. What does that even mean?
Well, there are so many different shadow archetypes, and there's so many archetypes that we play out. And first I want to just bring a little awareness to what an archetype is. So I look at an archetype as a container of energy that has certain traits or, kinds of keys within it. And every archetype has a wisdom and power within it, including the shadow archetypes. So the shadow archetypes that I speak of are those pieces that we tend to say are, not so desired. Something like, your inner addict, or the inner Don Juan, or your saboteur or prostitute energy. So these are all shadow archetypes that are quite often people will focus on integrating those or killing those pieces of them. And so what I work with is finding those pieces, honoring and loving them up, because those are the pieces that are hiding your deepest genius. We're not going to kill them. We're asking them for help.
So what does that mean when you ask a shadow archetype for help?
Well, for me, currently I've been working with saboteur, my saboteur archetype. And my saboteur is the piece of me that, let's say, like that last night, right before this amazing interview with you that I'm so excited for, and my higher self is like, you should get so much sleep and rest and definitely drink water and do those things. And I stayed up swimming until midnight. And that's my saboteur. My saboteur is that little piece that comes in, and it's like, have you seen the meme with Kermit the Frog, and he puts on his hood, and he's like, just do it. So that's the saboteur. And my saboteur, whenever it's unintegrated and when it's dishonored, it has caused all sorts of chaos in my world. It has caused not having consistent internet. It has when I have big calls, it has caused all sorts of different chaos. And how I have, welcomed the saboteur in is the saboteur is the magical piece of you that can shapeshift, that can change, that can go with the flow. And my saboteur has now been employed as chief of marketing within my business because my saboteur is hilarious. My saboteur is so hilarious with the bullshit or the bologna sauce that it tries to make me believe that I am. It makes me try to believe that I'm small and that I can't do this and that, it'd be so much easier if I just said screw all of this and went back to working with children. And it's hilarious, and when you can start to laugh at that piece and say, oh, that's so funny that's who I thought I was. That's really funny.
Yeah, wow.
That's when you start bringing it back and saying, okay, saboteur, I see you. Okay, you're coming up right now. I hear you. What's going on? Oh, well, we haven't had enough play and you're feeling bored? Oh, okay, so we need to blow off some steam. Got it. All right, saboteur. Well, we're definitely not going to drink all night because that's not happening. What we're going to do is we are going to jump and swim and play and be just as wild as we want to be. And we're going to do it from 10 p.m. until midnight. And then at midnight, we're going to bed. And tomorrow, you're going to just not show up because I gave you your space here.
Wow. That requires such a high level, I think, of awareness to be able to have that inner dialogue with our shadow archetypes, and the way that you've kind of, you're a good actress in the way that you kind of bring it out, and I mean, I could see you on stage actually doing that. I don't know if you've ever considered that, but you're really good at getting people to really understand what that means. Yeah. So I know that you also practice conscious kink. Can you tell us what that is?
Absolutely. So conscious kink is just kink and with intention. That's all it is. So a lot of us are really kinky and we might not even know it, right? There are certain kinks that we have, and a lot of us even have something called an existential kink, which shout out to that book if you haven't read it. Check that out. Existential kink is amazing. And this existential kink is a concept that we have this inner piece of us that really just loves being in our victim or the chaos or what have you. So I play with those existential kinks in a conscious way. And it's the same concept of allowing your shadow that safe space to play so that it doesn't come out with your subconscious unconsensually. So we go into it and say, for example, here's an example of a conscious kink container. For my birthday, I requested to submit to a conscious kink container held by somebody else. And I had somebody that was giving the impact that we had all, agreed to. We had come to our boundaries. I had set up the exact scene I wanted. And then I had another person who was doing the shamanic aspect. So as I'm standing on one foot, tied up and supported and getting flogged, I'm standing on my right foot, which is my masculine. And the shaman is looking at me and saying, are you going to wobble? Is your masculine going to drop you? How long can your masculine hold this? How much chaos can you hold? So we go into that space where I'm releasing anything that is keeping me from going into full surrender. And then at the end, it culminated with me fully just allowing and choosing the collapse, choosing to let my masculine go and being supported by the individuals that were there. So you're in a shamanic space working directly with whatever you're struggling with. And one of the things I struggled with was allowing myself to be supported by people who care about me. I was able to ask for help, and then when they would show up, I'd be like, okay, never mind, I've got this on my own. So after going through that ritual and after, just going fully into it and getting that emotional release that came afterwards, I don't struggle with this anymore. And that was the rite of passage that I needed.
Okay. Yeah, that was the question that I had in my mind is, where does that take you? What's the end result of doing something like that? And you just you just answered that.
Yeah, the end result is rapid shift, and it's almost immediate. It usually takes a couple days to integrate, but the shift that occurred when I went into that sacred surrender, my business opened up. I started having clients call me out of the blue, people I had never even talked to, just wanting to sign up with me immediately. I've been watching your videos for the last year, and now I'm suddenly ready. And it's just like, well, now they're suddenly ready because I'm ready to actually hold it.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And you use shamanic breathwork also as a tool when you work with clients. What are the effects of breathwork? What do you see happening when people actually use breathwork as a tool?
Well, using breathwork as a tool is an incredible practice. It is a huge release of oxytocin. When we move our concept of orgasm away from anything around the genitals, and if we just look at it as the neurochemical response, orgasm is just a huge uprush of oxytocin culminating in a big burst that then washes over your body. Mm-hmm. So you get that same feeling from breath work. Yeah. And so when we do breath work, I incorporate it, breath, sound, and movement to come to something that I call breathgasm, where you're moving it in a certain way. And another really important benefit is that you release the chemical of DMT within your system through doing this kind of breath work. So you can have a psychedelic experience without taking any substances, just with the power of your own body, to open yourself up to those visions that you've been calling in, that you've been needing. So I incorporate breath work as well as I will guide people through self-touch ritual to do it at the same time. And another really powerful thing to know about this breath work and why it's important to practice it is because then when you get good at this and get really good at breath orgasm, you can then bring that with a partner. And you start circling the energy and doing the breath work together to culminate at the top. And you culminate that with your genital orgasm, with your breath orgasm, for a completely full body experience, unlike any orgasm you've had before.
Amazing. I love it. Yeah. Breath work is definitely a tool that I've been using for many, many years. And, of course, also use with my clients. So I totally know what you're talking about there. That's fantastic. Yes.
Yes. And doesn't it feel so good to just do it?
Yes. Yeah. It's amazing what our bodies are capable of. And, when we learn about these tools and we start to implement them, it's just unbelievable how transformative they are. It just opens you up to new levels of bliss.
And also knowing that oxytocin is the neurochemical that's in charge of regulating your entire sensory system, as well as it's in charge of partner bonding and being able to read nonverbal signals and modulating anger. So these are all, important tools that we can use just to be regulated throughout the day.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah, and you have also a background in behavioral therapy and ABA, and I'm curious as to how working with people on the spectrum has contributed to the work that you do now.
Oh, thank you so much for asking that. There's been a bit of fear about integrating, that past into the sexuality work, and it does absolutely go hand in hand. So what I came to learn through, working with children with autism and all sorts of sensory challenges, I was working in the water, and then I started going to grad school for it until I realized that, a lot of the system was not doing a lot of good. And so I moved